So the Iranian guys, I didn't know before, but they were strict on their culture.
Yeah.
Like, I'm teaching them maths, but when it comes to the female English teacher,
Yeah.
they didn't like, oh, sir, woman's teaching me. No,
Yeah.
no women teaching me.
Yeah.
And I got till trained, but I started doing
Better money on the tills?
Yeah, a bit better, a bit better. So like,
Yeah, and you're sitting down.
Yeah, it's like £2.58, please, or whatever it is, yeah. And then, you know what I mean, how can you tax turnover and not profit?
It doesn't happen in any other industry.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Only
Doesn't make
property.
sense.
Jason, if I'm looking at an apartment that's got, say, 60 years left on the lease, why would I even bother looking at it?
Well, the lower the lease, then the more money you can make on these short lease flats.
Yeah.
So with a 60-year mortgage, or 60-year lease, should I say, potentially, depending on where it is in the country, you can make anything from 30 grand upwards in terms of uplift.
Right.
So like a paper version of the BRR. So if that flat was in North London, you could probably make around, I don't know, 30 to 50 grand in terms of profit. If that same flat was in prime central London, then you can make 6 figures worth of profit. So it depends on where you're buying, but the lower the lease, the more money you can make out of it.
Why does not everybody do that then? Why is everybody just run a mile as soon as they hear the word short lease?
Yeah, it's a lot of paperwork, should I say.
Yeah.
Now, when you see and hear flats, people think of service charges every month. I mean, every year, the annual service charge creeps up by 2%, 3%, 4%. You have to answer the block management company. You've got the freeholder, where sometimes you have to pay ground rent.
Yeah.
And then obviously, when it comes to the lease extension, you've got to pay money towards the lease extension. So there's a lot of people to answer to in terms of buying flats.
Yes.
So a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be held ransom to the block management or the freeholder. I just want a house, freehold.
And that would be my thinking, do I want all that hassle?
Yeah.
We've got a small number of apartments in our portfolio. We've got a small number of apartment blocks, but we've got the freehold. So then, you know, I'm never really concerned about that.
Yeah.
But as soon as somebody presents me with an apartment, I'm just thinking, it's just headache.
Yeah, no, it's paper version of the BRR, especially if you can refurb it and change it from a 1 bed to a 2 bed or 2 bed to a 3 bed, and it has a short lease.
Yeah.
Then one's I call a triple threat.
Right.
And
So you're adding value by renovating it.
Yep.
You're adding value by reconfiguring it, turning it from 1 to a 2.
Yep.
And you're adding value by increasing the lease term.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So those ones bring the most money.
Yeah.
So as you know, you can buy them where they're above shops, conversions, what used to be a house, and convert it into flats, top and bottom floor. You can have purpose-built ones as well. There's so many different ones that you can buy, obviously. But with me, the reason why I like flats is because I wanted to leave my full-time job. This is why I liked it. And I couldn't afford to buy houses at the time. So I thought, instead of me not doing anything, I thought, right, I just get myself onto the ladder and then start jumping. And then it worked out well.
So it wasn't a strategy that you specifically went to look and learn about and say, right, shortly, so I'm going to do this. Is it something you kind of stumbled into because you're looking for cheaper end of property? Or?
Yeah. Basically, it evolved. So I bought a normal flat, a conversion. So I just had to pay builders insurance from it, but no service charge. £500 a month, or £600 a month rental profit that I was making off it at the time. And then the lease on that one, about when I bought in 2001, that's my first ever flat.
Okay.
And then the following year, I extended the lease because the lease was about 82 or 83 years.
So it wasn't short, but you still extended it anyway.
Yeah, exactly, because it was above 80.
Okay.
So if it's above 80, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if it's below 80, because 80 is a marriage value.
Yeah. Right.
So I thought, let me extend it now, while it's above 80, it's going to be cheaper. That was the first ever short lease that I did back in 2002.
Okay.
And then I just kept on buying. This normal vanilla buy-to-lets. Then moved over to flats with refurbs.
Yes.
And then reconfiguring, so flats with BRR, reconfiguring as well. 1 bed to 2 beds, 2 beds to 3 beds. And then not stumbled, but I thought about short leases came into afterwards. Yeah. All of these flats have leases on them, so eventually you're gonna have to extend the leases, and then it just started to snowball from there.
Okay.
So on average, like I said, if you're making £600 a flat and you have, say, 30 flats there, then that's going to be 18 grand a month that you're bringing in, which is good. And on average, where I am, if you've got studios, 1 beds, 2 beds, and 3 bed flats, some it's local authority, some purpose built, some above shops, some conversions. On average, they're between 250 and maybe 300k. So if it's like 250 in terms of value, and you have 30 flats, then that's 7.5 million.
Yeah.
If the average is about 300k, because the 3 beds are a bit over 300k, then 30 times 300, that's 9 million. So
Big
lots
numbers.
of littles make a lot, yeah. So even though it's little £500 here, £600 here, you might
Yeah.
think, oh, it's not much, but lots of littles make a lot.
They add
I
up.
mean, it just grows. And then every so often, like I said now, it's every 3-4 months, buy another one, another £600.
Yeah.
Buy another one, another £600. So instead of it being 18 grand a month, it's 18.6. Buy another one, another 4 months, 19.2. And then by the end of the year, it's 19.8, and then so on. So just slowly but surely going up and up and up.
Yes.
So before long, you'll be hitting 21, 22, 23 grand a year just from a simple flat strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though a lot of people don't like flats, lots of littles do make a lot, and you can move forward that way.
Yes.
So that's how I funded my lifestyle so far.
Yeah.
So it works out well. And then obviously, that's just a rental income because I like the cash flow. But if you're talking about taking out lump sums and then moving forward, initially that was the plan where you refinance.
Extract some more equity.
Exactly. Plus your savings, plus your employed income, plus your rental income, and then you move again to get the next one, and so on and so on and so on. When it gets to a point where you don't really need to refinance as much or at all. So you can save 13 grand a month-ish on average. If you're making like 18k a month, you can save like 13k a month. So every 3-4 months, that's a deposit for another one.
For another one, yeah.
And then you just move forward. So that way you keep your gearing low.
Yes.
Because lately, the last bank, they said to me, I'm geared about 49.8%.
That's very good.
Yeah, so it's a bit under half. So I've got a lot of equity there, just sitting there.
Yeah.
So I could.
For someone watching this who may not understand what you mean by that, that means how much debt you have versus the value. So if something's worth, say, £1 million, you've got less than £500,000 of debt on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So loan to value, which is good, especially in this market, where they assess your whole portfolio before they give you the actual mortgage offers, like stress test it and so forth, and affordability as well. So so moving forward, so now it's just save and buy, save and buy, and then over time, obviously the property prices creep up slowly. So even though it's about 50% now-ish, that will drop slightly, and then before you know it, you're geared about 40%, 35%, and so forth. So it's like a win-win going forward. But initially, to scale, you're gonna have to refinance or sell, pull out the equity, or sell it, get the equity, and then
buy the next
go
one.
again. Yeah.
So is this a strategy you think you have time in terms of the market that it changes, depending on whether the market's strong or quiet, or is it one that all the time
works in any market? Even now, I know some people are struggling with getting 75% loan to value mortgages, but with these ones, because it's below market values, the mortgage offers that have been got recently just gone through because the rental income, when you do a stress test and affordability checks, the stress tests and the affordability checks are low, the gap is wide enough for it. So with the normal buy-to-lets, for example, a lot of them, people got to put down 65% loan to value in order for it to work.
Yeah, especially in the high value areas like London.
Exactly, yeah. But for these, it works in any market, in a good market, in this kind of market now. During the credit crunch, it worked, 2007 to 2010. Like, it works in any market, so can't complain.
Yeah. So what would you consider a short lease? Because there's certain years, at a point it becomes interesting, and then goes beyond a point where it becomes expensive as well.
Yeah. So the marriage value is 80 years. So below this point, the value of the flat starts to diminish bit by bit by bit. So in theory, the lower the lease, then the more money you can make. But if it's outside prime central London, then up until about 50 years-ish, it's okay in terms of like mortgages and things like that. So and then if it goes below 50 years, then you might have to start using bridging. But NatWest do an offer, a mortgage offer, which is 30 years, up to 30 years, I think. Yeah. So with the normal lenders, like TMW, Kensington, who just got bought by Barclays Bank recently.
Okay.
Yeah, like today, Acquisition, Fleet, Kent Reliance, the Mortgage Lender, the Mortgage Works. There's loads of them. Foundation Home Loans, Capital Home Loans. Apart from like, I think TMW, for example, they do 70 years. So anything below 70 years, not touching.
They won't touch.
All the other ones that I mentioned, but mortgage cannot be, so the lease cannot be lower than 50 years at the end of the mortgage term.
Yeah. So once the mortgage term expires, with a 10, 15, 20, 30-year mortgage, when that mortgage comes to an end, there still needs to be at least 50 years left.
Exactly, yeah. So bought one recently, 68 years left on the lease. Kent Reliance gave me a 17-year mortgage, basic on it, yeah. So it's 68 years left on the lease.
Yeah.
Gave me a 17-year mortgage because at the end of the term, the lease
still had
lower than
50
50 years.
Yeah. Okay.
But obviously in that time, within the first year or two, I'm going to extend my lease anyway.
Yes.
So when my 2-year fix still runs out, I can either stay with them, renew with a good lease and get a decent rate, or I can move lender.
Switch to somebody else.
Yeah, and get a new 25-year mortgage after, and I can pull out the equity if I want to on the uplift in value going forward. So,
where do people find these then?
Yeah, all sorts of places. All right. So lately, because I've got some properties under the guarantee rent schemes, with local authority and with housing associations.
So that's once you've acquired the property, you hand it to one of the housing association for them to give you a fixed rent.
Exactly. Yeah, guaranteed rent. And they lately have been calling me or messaging me and say, "Oh, some of our landlords are selling. Would you be interested in buying them?" So a lot of these are off-market deals. So I won't need to. There's no competition basically. If I want them, they're mine. If not, they'll probably ask another investor on their list. That's one way of doing it, but you have to be in there.
And that's a great example of when you do one thing again and again and again, people get to know that's what you do.
Exactly.
So they think for short lease, I think, I need to call Jason on that one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, they always messaging me, "Oh, plan a short lease, plan a short lease, chat to you on it." So there's that way. There's a normal right move way where on the filters, you put in lowest price first. A lot of the time, the ones with the lowest price are the ones with short leases in that area.
Price lower.
Exactly, yeah. Make sure you put the filter on no new homes, no retirement homes, and there's something else in the right move section. But there's 3 of them there. Put them filters on and then put lowest price, and then normally short lease ones come up first.
Yes.
And
you
also,
look for just apartments.
Just apartments, flats, yeah. And then also another way of searching is where you put what does it say? It says longest on the market. Because a lot of the time, like as you know, not many people like flats, so they're ones that sit on the market.
Yes.
So the longer it's sat on the market, then the more of a deal you can get.
Yes.
You can also find them at auctions, quite popular. That during lockdown 1, when Boris said you must stay at home, I was just searching, and then Savills.
You were sitting at home searching.
Exactly, searching. Never stops. And then Savills had one in my area.
Right.
I put in a pre-auction offer, because it was all turned on online after that, bidding. Put in a pre-auction offer, got rejected, but I didn't go to auction. I just didn't bother. It didn't sell at auction. And then post-auction, the auctioneer contacted me and said, "Oh, this particular flat did not sell. Will you be interested in putting in another offer?" So I managed to get it lower than what I put in initially. Yeah, exactly. So even though I got rejected. So that's why it was worth not going to auction sometimes.
I think that's the best way to buy at an auction, either before or after, not during.
Exactly, yeah. Because they always give you like first refusal half the time. You've got friends, property associates, like social media. You've also got neighbours, old neighbours. So I bought a flat with a short lease, and then she's sold it, to obviously to me. And then her neighbour, former neighbour, is now selling. So her neighbours, they still give contact. So they contacted her, and then he has contacted me and said, "Oh, my neighbour's selling a flat. Would you be interested in this? Short lease again." So that's another way. So there's multiple different ways of obviously.
And that's interesting what you just mentioned there, because let's say you got a block of 10 apartments and they start off with a 100-year lease. They're all being reduced at the same time. So if you're buying one of those, it's very likely that the others are probably also becoming shorter. And maybe they've extended them, but it's a good chance. So you could target the other people in the same building.
Exactly, yeah. That's what we're going to as well. Because exactly what you said, 99-year lease, block of 10, maybe 2, 3, 4 of them might have renewed their lease, but the other 5 or 6 haven't.
Yes.
And then you can leaflet drop. So even if they're tenanted, just leave a leaflet in there. That leaflet hopefully get to the landlord.
Yes.
And then the landlord will contact you direct. Just direct the vendor. So.
And in terms of the legals and how this is done, you don't have to be a legal whiz on this because the solicitors will take care of all of it.
Yeah,
they'll do with all the paperwork.
Yeah.
You just need to understand how it works.
That's it.
To see where the opportunity is to make money.
Yeah, because there's two different ways. You can either do the Section 42 notice, which is the formal way, and then there's the voluntary way where you contact the freeholder yourself and ask for a lease extension. So the rule is, or the law is at the moment, you have to own the flat for 2 years before you can extend the lease.
Yeah.
But even if you don't own it for 2 years, there's ways of extending the lease without 2 years of ownership.
Yes.
So you either serve a Section 42 notice beforehand by the vendor, and then they assign it over to yourself.
Yeah.
And then you finish off the process. You can also acquire the flat, and then once you acquire the flat, you can always write to the freeholder voluntarily, and then ask them to extend the lease.
Yes.
And also another way that just happened last year, the owner, when I went to go and view it, the vendor said, showed me, it's too much, it's 18.5 grand to extend the lease. Like, I can't afford it, that's why I'm selling.
Yes.
So therefore I had a documentation of how much it costs to extend the lease there. So I said, all right, let's do the voluntary method, because I know how much it costs, fair price as well.
Yeah.
You start the process for me, and then when I get the keys, I'm going to finish it off.
Yes.
I mean, that's another way as well of extending the lease. So it's straightforward. So there's two main documents that you need. You've got the what do you call it? Deed of security, substitute security.
Okay.
Which is what is between yourself and the lender.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, TMW have their own specific copy.
Right.
They'll send it to the solicitor, and the solicitor will send it to me. I have to sign it. I mean, a witness has to witness my signature. Someone over 18 and not a family member has to sign it. Send it back to the solicitor, and then from then it goes back to TMW. Yeah. Just for them to witness it and sign it. Go back to the solicitor, then the key stays there. And then the other one is a counter deed, which is the agreement between myself and the freeholder, agreeing the terms of the new lease and the ground rent as well. And again, same system. My solicitor draws it up, I sign it, witness it, send it to the freeholder, they sign it, witness it, back to the solicitor. And then once I have those two documents there, then it goes off to land registry to be registered. This is for mortgage properties. If there's no mortgage on it, then the first document I mentioned will not apply.
Doesn't apply.
Just the second one,
Right.
At the moment, HMRC, they were on strike, but land registry are on strike now at the moment.
Really?
Some
right
sections,
now. I know there's some sort of way behind the big
still,
backlog.
From COVID,
Yeah.
So they're way behind. So this is going to put them back even more behind.
Yes.
So between the 27th of Feb and I think it's the 2nd or 3rd of March, which is now, they're going to strike or are striking.
Right.
So they're going to be even more delays from COVID, basically, and they're still playing catch up.
Yeah.
So if you're registering properties or short leases or anything like that, expect a slight delay or title split, anything like that.
But it doesn't prevent you from doing the deals and getting
no.
It just means the paperwork's trailing a little bit behind.
Exactly.
What's the shortest lease you'd look at?
For me at the moment, it's probably in the 50s, maybe about 55, 53.
Yeah.
Because I like to get mortgages on them.
Yes.
With a normal 25% deposit, a normal buy-to-let interest rate as well.
Yes.
Rather than bridging, and then just move forward from there.
So if you had a pot of cash, what's the lowest you would look at then?
The ones in central London, prime central London.
Because that's where I was going to say, the ceiling price is high. It's almost, there is no ceiling.
Exactly, yeah. So there's some, I'm going to post one soon anyway on my Instagram. There's one like in central London that I saw for 560k.
Yeah.
1 bed flat with this one's a 63-year lease actually, but it's not too like low.
Yeah.
But the lease extension will cost about 150k to extend the lease. So you say you get it for 550, extend the lease for 150k, that's 700k all in. Then end value can be about 950, 950-ish going forward. So that could be a nice 200k, 250k uplift just for that one deal.
Yes.
Which is right there.
Yeah.
And if you're buying flats which are under the Grosvenor estate, then
own a good part of
exactly. They own like half of London, half of central London at least anyway.
Yeah.
And Oxfordshire and Cambridge and blah blah. But the ones in central, they own a lot.
Yeah.
And with them, you're only allowed to extend the lease by 20 years.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it might cost you 500 grand, 400 grand, but the end values of those flats can hit $1 million. So in auction, you might see a flat in Mayfair or Eaton Square or something that's for 200,000, 300,000. To extend that lease, it might be 300,000 or 400,000 to extend it on top of that, you know?
Yeah.
So then end value of that one might be 1.2, 1.3. Yeah. So it's possible, but they can be both kind of deals. Even though you extend it for like 20, by 20 years for like 400, 500 grand, you're still making a big chunk afterwards. Yes. So with those kind of deals, you're probably best to use cash or private banking finance. There's only one or two bridge lenders that will lend to you on that. So
because the term shows short.
Yeah, so short. Yeah, 13 years, 14 years, 7 years, all that kind of thing. So probably best to buy cash, I reckon, just in case. Because sometimes with those kind of leases, the bigger the lease, or the more value of the lease, then it's possible that you might go to a tribunal to try and thrash it out.
Yeah.
But my ones I do, they're all small, like 30 grand, 20 grand, nothing too heavy. But ones are more in central, they're more likely to go to a tribunal. But you never know, they might give you a fair price straight away.
Okay.
Rather than going in to negotiate.
So if someone's watching this now, they're thinking, okay, I found a property, it's a short lease, it's got, 60 years left on it. Price looks silly low compared to everything else. That's probably because the lease is so short.
Yeah.
How do they determine what they need to pay for the extension? Are they going to be held over a barrel?
Yeah, no, there's two ways, or more than two ways. But first thing you should do is look on Google, type in lease extension calculator.
Yeah.
Normally for top three, you got top 3 or 4 actually calculators on there. I'd put in the details in those calculators and take a rough average of those 3 or 4. And then I would also...
So there's standard formulas that they'll use to work out roughly what the payment would be. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So you put in the ground rent. And one of them you put in the end date of the lease. So if it's 100 years from now, then it's 2123.
Yeah.
You put in the current estimated end value with a good lease. You put in the length of the lease, and you also put in the current ground rent into it.
Right.
And then press calculate, and it gives you a figure. Gives you a low, a middle, and a high.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you take an average of obviously all of those, and from those 4 different sites. And then I also use my secret weapon, my lease extension surveyor.
Okay.
Whenever I'm looking and I don't know the actual lease extension length, I just email him.
Yeah.
And then he sends me back an accurate quote of what it should be.
So he'll calculate based how he thinks it should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because been doing
so there's a standard method that they're following. It's not that somebody will think, well, you want a lease extension, I want 50 grand.
Exactly. Yeah.
They can't just make up the numbers.
Yeah. It can't be pie in the sky. It has to be fair and reasonable according to the legal documentation.
Yeah.
So so he's got the calculator on his computer. He's been doing it for like 30 plus years. So he knows, I think he's well respected in the industry as well. So if there's any disputes between myself and the freeholder, then I get him involved.
Yeah.
And then this happened once actually. I think this was a few years back, 7, 8 years back, on a 2-bed flat. They were trying to charge me, I think 22 grand, 23 grand to extend the lease. But I knew that it's going to cost, it should have cost around 15, 16K. So they weren't budging. This was a voluntary lease extension.
Right.
So what I had to do, I got him involved. Then you done a 22-page report.
Okay.
I think £700 plus VAT. Sent it off to the freeholder, sent it off to the freeholder surveyor.
Yeah.
And then when they saw that, they came down in price to what it should be.
Okay.
So I paid roughly about £1,000 for his services, but it saved me about 5, 6 grand in that instant.
But they realise you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
rather than they're trying it on at the high rent, you might be able to get away with it.
Exactly.
And to be fair, the people who own the freeholds, who grant the lease extensions, their business will sit on these until someone like Jason comes along and wants an extension.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money.
Yeah.
Which is a different model.
That's it. Yeah. Because I got a few like that as well, where I bought the freehold to. So I'm a leaseholder, but then I wrote to the freeholder voluntarily, asking for a lease extension quote, and also for a price to extend to purchase the freehold. Yeah. Okay. And then on 5 separate occasions, I come back and said yes.
Yeah.
That we're willing to sell you the freehold, and I had to serve a section 10 to inform the other flats as well, that Mr. Patterson, exactly, is interested in buying the freehold. If we don't hear from you in 14 days, then he'll buy it solely, or if you want to come in with him, then it'll be jointly.
Yes.
I mean, most of the time they come in with me, and we just purchase the freehold from the freeholder.
Okay.
So we're now owners. And then after that, we extended our own leases. Solicitors charge us about £300 to extend our own leases.
Right.
Sign up the documents, and then we put them to 999 going forward with peppercorn ground rent.
So which is what they call a virtual freehold.
Exactly.
So it's the best you're going to get in terms of a new lease.
That's it,
Yeah.
What some people could do is just buy the freehold, keep the flat at that level, 72 or 60 odd years, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then sell the flat. And then at some point, like you said,
Yeah.
that leasehold is going to come to you when you extend it, and then you can get a payday from it.
Yes.
So,
and that's quite a long play, because I remember when I first started, I used to see people buying freeholds, and I didn't quite understand why they were buying them. And I'm trying to do the calculation, thinking you're earning a tiny amount of money from the ground rent, which goes to the freeholder. They're earning a small amount of money each month for what they're paying. I think, how does that make sense?
Exactly.
Not realizing at the time, actually, that someone's going to have to turn up to them and say they need an extension. And that's when they get paid.
Yeah, bumper pay.
And now I guess things are changing a little bit. Maybe some freeholders they've had these a long time. They'd rather just sell the freeholds, get out.
Yeah.
And also there's the Leasehold Reform Act that happened last year.
Exactly.
How do you think that will impact things?
Yeah, so basically with the act, all the ground rents on new leases has to be zero, which is peppercorn ground rent basically. So the way it works is, say for example, you've got 60 years left on your lease and you do a Section 42 notice, for example, or even a voluntary one, doesn't matter. Say you put 90 years on top of it, that's going to be 150. Your ground rent has to be zero regardless. Yeah, it can't be 150 or £50 or £200 or 250. Has to be zero on those 90 years. Now, what some people some people try and do, they'll say, right, you've still got 60 years left. You're still paying the ground rent on those 60 years, and then when that expires on the new 90 years, you're going to be peppercorn ground rent. That's what they try.
Right.
Yeah, but I say from day one, I want peppercorn ground rent from day one.
Okay, so you get the lease extension and reduce the ground rent down to
straight away. Yeah.
So the ground rent, when we think about a building, I guess one of the ways I describe this is, say, when you've got apartments, whether it's 2, 3, 5, 20, 100 in a building, that building, when you're buying an apartment in there, you're buying the space. You're effectively renting that space for 60, 80, 100 years. You don't actually own the building. Yep. Somebody else owns the land that building sits on. So the ground rent is effectively rent for that land.
Yeah, correct.
We have to pay.
Yeah.
And so the changes, which was another way for the freeholders to make some money, it might be £200-300 a year per unit, but as you say, they all add up, they stack up to quite a lot of money. But now that will get reduced down to zero, so they'll no longer want to, or that benefit there won't be there for them.
That's it, yeah. I mean, Jeremy Hunt's mentioned recently that he wants to reform leasehold. But I reckon what's pushed it as well is what some of the big house builders were doing, like Wemp and Berkeley Homes and everyone else. They were building leasehold houses.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a problem. Yeah. I mean, they were charging obviously ground rent on it, and then they were packaging them up, and then selling them on to other people onwards.
So the freehold will get sold on to somebody else.
Correct, yeah.
The Wimpy or the likes would go in, they build houses, and rather than selling them as a freehold, they sell them as a leasehold. Let's say it's got 100 years at that time. The buyer, most buyers are inexperienced. They don't do this all the time. They buy a house once every 10, 15 years. And they're thinking, as far as they're aware, that's fine. Nothing's out of the ordinary. But as that lease starts to reduce 10, 15 years time, 20 years time, they need to think about getting an extension. That's when they realize, oh, actually, now I'm going to have to pay another chunk of cash. And of course, that hit the media, and then the government wants to get involved and stir things up. And
the ground rent as well. When the ground rent, some of the contracts that they have with the ground rent, it doubled every 20 years or every 10 years. Yeah. Now, if it starts off at 100 or 200, then it doubles to 400. And doubles again to 800. Mortgage companies don't like that. Yeah. So that was another issue. So some of them could not remortgage, and they went on to variable rate straight away. And the rate started to rise, so they're like mortgage prisoners. So that's another issue. So that's why people like Jeremy Hunt are saying, right, we need to sort this out. And they stopped that last year, coming in June 2022. Yeah, so that's sorted out. And now they're trying to get rid of the lease part of it, or to get rid of the marriage value. So at the King's speech, he mentioned that recently. I put it on my Instagram yesterday, I think.
What do you think that will look like? What's your guess on what that will happen?
It's hard to say, because effectively they're going to have to, in theory, they're going to have to pay some of the freeholders or reimburse some of the freeholders if they get rid of the lease extension part of it, or the lease part of it. So just for argument's sake, say the lease is, this won't happen by the way, but if it's 999 and they're abolishing the marriage value in terms of the lease, what in theory the government might say, right, we're going to give you each freeholder £1,000 for every year of the lease. If it's 999, that's almost £1 million to buy them out of their lease. And you've got some that are above shops, some conversions, some purpose built. So to do that for every single freeholder, exactly, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Well, you can do it, but it's going to be a lot of taxpayers' money.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And it wouldn't be a sensible thing for the government to come and spend that money doing that.
Exactly. So they got to think of, I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
If they're going to compensate them, I don't know how they're going to do it. So that's one thing that they're thinking of. What else are they thinking of? The ground rent sorted out, but that's the main thing, basically.
The ground rent.
Yeah. The ground rent sorted out.
I think the lease, the leasehold stuff, the service charge stuff is fine. It's the ground rent that was the
main issue.
The issue which they're put a nail in that coffin now.
Exactly. So we still make money out of it anyways.
Yeah.
Good
There's
value.
always opportunity, and I think that's the sign of a great entrepreneur. You know, when the door closes, you think that's fine. We'll find 2 more that will open.
Exactly.
You find alternative ways, because there's always different ways. You know, rules and regulation change in property all the time.
Yep.
And I can't remember how many times it's changed in, you know, the 15, 16 years I've been involved in the industry. It's like every year there's new sets of changes.
Yeah.
But that's fine. You just adapt.
Exactly.
But some people panic. They want to get out of the market. But that just presents an opportunity for others.
Yeah. Especially with Section 24.
Yes.
George Osborne, July 2015, messed up the system.
Yeah.
He done that, and then he left to go and work for the Evening Standard or something. He's a joker. So then that happened.
Often these are not property people. They don't understand the impact they're having on the industry.
That's it. And then, you know what I mean? How can you tax turnover and not profit?
It doesn't happen in any other industry. Nowhere else.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But then obviously you have to adapt, and then obviously either you can incorporate to go through LLP and then into a limited company after that, or
so again, that's a solution people have come up with, and say, okay, that's fine. We'll find a way to resolve it.
Exactly.
So it's not that government now is collecting more tax. There might be some tax they're collecting, but the ones that are in this for the long term, they're not paying that tax. They found another way around.
Yeah. That's some sort of loophole.
Incorporating.
Yeah. That's it. Or set up a management company and then doing that. You have to have a certain amount of properties to do that. There's all sorts of ways that you can adapt, like you said, depending on your environment.
Yes.
Just moving forward.
So when we're looking at a lease, let's say there's 15 years left on a lease, and you think, okay, 15 years on a lease, you pay peanuts for that. What would happen at the end of those 15 years?
Then basically that flat, in theory, you have to give back to the freeholder, but the freeholder has to give you the option of extending the lease to another 99 years or 125 years or 90 years above the zero, basically what it is now.
Yes.
So they have to give you the option. And if you don't obviously want the option, you have to give it back.
Yes.
I mean, it's theirs again. I mean, put it on the market, whether it's through auction or private sale or, just.
Do you see that happening? I understand the theory, but I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it before either.
Yeah.
So I've not seen it before either.
Yeah, it'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Someone's giving away like 100, 200 grand.
Exactly.
Probably must be rare.
So it can happen probably if you get obviously inherited some flats from your elders.
Yeah.
And they just let it run down. They haven't bought it personally, but their mum or their dad or their granddad has just done that. And then they haven't got the cash to extend it.
Yes.
And it's too low to sell or no one wants to buy it. Then they just hand it back. So it's possible. So probably the best place to probably look there again is auctions. Just get them low ones.
Yeah, because they'll take it to the estate agent. Estate agent will shrug their shoulders and say, I can't sell this.
That's it.
No one's going to want it. And so they think, well, what to do with it? Just dump it in the auction and get whatever you can for it.
See what happens, yeah. So I'll way forward.
How do you think your business will evolve in the next couple of years or so?
I'll probably still do the same method, what I'm doing now. A little save and buy. But I'm thinking I might try 1 or 2 of them central London ones.
Okay, yeah.
Prime central London. Now I've got it formulated in my mind, so I'm not going to use bridging. I'm just going to use cash rather than using bridging, because of the delays at land registry, it might take 6 months to get registered, it might take a year.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm keeping it, it's fine. If I'm going to sell it on, some lenders want it to be fully registered before the person can buy it. So it might be a sticking point. If I'm on a bridge and it's meant to be for 6 months or maybe even 12 months, and it overruns because land registry haven't registered it, that's going to cause issues, because central London flats, it was 500k, 600k to buy one, and the interest rate's like 1%.
Yeah, it'd be very hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'd probably refinance, take it about 700, 800k maybe in total, buy it cash.
Okay, so create a pot of cash by releasing more equity from the current portfolio. And use that cash to go and buy them.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Pay the stamp of 3%.
Yeah.
Extend the lease, 200 grand, 300 grand, whatever it may be. and then either sell it or refinance it going forward. So that's what I want to do.
Yes.
Yeah, just one of those.
Yeah.
Let me see how it goes. Like I said, Grosvenor Estate.
Yeah.
Look at the Queens section as well. Because I've got experience. I don't want to challenge them, but I want to see how they work.
Yes. You have the experience to look at slightly more interesting, complex things like that. Sometimes I think a mistake people make is they jump into the complex stuff and not understanding. And we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And when you get there and you realize actually you're in way above.
Yeah, out of your depth. Yeah.
You're way out of your depth.
That's it. And they go to tribunal and they start going to court and blah blah.
Yes.
It's a lot of hassle. So, and especially in central London, you've got the concierge with a lot of government's quite high. Service charges are quite high as well. So you got to think of all these factors. And then, like I said, if you're stuck on a bridge, it's going to be trouble. So it's best if you do it cash.
Yes.
That way, if there are any delays going forward, just understand the process. If it takes 6 months or a year and a half, 18 months to get that 200-300 grand profit, then it's fine. I mean, at least after the first one, you can gauge it and think, all right, you know what? Next one, I'm not going to use all of my cash. I might use a bit of bridging because it's taking me 8 months now, 9 months now, rather than like 18 months. Just wanting to go for the overkill rather than, You know, I mean, just to cover yourself. So there's that really. The initial plan when I first started was start off with buy-to-lets, do BRR, start buying houses, amend.
So it's going to be a stepping stone.
Yeah, and then buy a plot, and then make some flats on it. That was my initial plan.
Right.
But then I got sidetracked with just flats.
Found a nice little niche.
Yeah. And then before you know it, like I said, I bought my first one, making about 600 profit. And then this is while I was in Sainsbury's, like I used to work in Sainsbury's before. And I bought 5 flats while I was in Sainsbury's, but overlapped with my teaching job.
Yes.
So after about 4 flats-ish, I managed to match my full-time wages.
Wow.
So I thought, you know what, I'm just sticking to this method rather than moving into houses and refurbing the houses. I mean, I kept on buying, then I doubled my wages, tripled my wages, quadrupled my wages. And I thought, I'm sticking to this method.
Yeah. At what point did you leave your job then?
When I went part-time, I was like, Sainsbury's, I was there for 11 years. And then, like I said, I bought the first 5 there when I left, but I overlapped with my teaching job, teaching maths. And then 10 years in, I was there for 15 years, but a teaching job, by the way, 15 and a half years, yeah. So I was there for the first 10 years full-time. And then I was just still buying. And then I went part-time after, I think, year 10 to 2.5 days a week, which is like 17.5 hours.
Okay.
And then I went down to 2 days a week, which is about 14 hours. And then I left after like 15 and a half years. So, but I said, I got to 10 years and then I like quadrupled my wages. So I thought, no point in being here. It helps pass the time. I like teaching students and that kind of thing. And you learn from them as well, because you got all different nationalities that I was teaching. You had Polish, you had Romanian gypsies, you had Somali, you had some guy from Portugal, some girl from Colombia. So you just learn, and if I'm teaching maths, they can teach you a thing or two as well about the country and the culture and that kind of thing. And then we had some guys from Iran, the Iranian guys. They was, I didn't know before, but they were strict on their culture. Like, I'm teaching them maths, but when it comes to the female English teacher, they didn't like, oh, sir, the woman's teaching me. No women teaching me. I said, over here, like, this is the way it is. Women have equal rights. No, sir, in my country, that's not allowed. Women can't work. Blah, blah, blah. So but after a while, he adapted, and then he opened up to like the English culture, British culture, and so forth. So you learn, understand different, like different societies, different cultures. Like Romanian gypsies, I was talking to a lot of them. Said, yeah, sir, we come over from Romania, for a better life, and blah blah blah. Blah. So that particular girl, she was on like social housing.
Right.
She left. They moved her to Yorkshire because like it's social housing.
It's cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper. Yeah. So I understood how the councils work as well. But if there's no accommodation available, they're shifting you outside London. Like gentrification. A lot of them are being pushed out to Luton, then Reading, and some up north to Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle. They started shifting some of them out.
For someone saying they're homeless, and the council said, well, we haven't got anywhere, their excuse is, well, because we haven't got anywhere, we've got somewhere in, you know, Doncaster for you, off you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're homeless, you're going to have to accept it.
Yeah. So learn about that as well.
So were you working in Sainsbury's and teaching at the same time, or was that one after the other?
So I started maybe about 7 years in, that's when I got a teaching job. And when I started to overlap, so I was still working in Sainsbury's.
So you were working in Sainsbury's for about 7 years, then you started teaching as well.
Yeah.
So you're in the two jobs concurrently for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so basically, initially to get the deposits together.
Yeah.
I was doing day shift, night shift, all sorts.
Proper grafting.
Yeah, grafted. I started off in the waters section.
Right.
And then I moved over to the bread section.
So this is stacking shelves we're talking about.
Yeah,
not a cushy managerial job.
No. Yeah. Started on £3.28 an hour, and then just doing the hours.
Yes.
And then I wasn't till trained, so if I done overtime, I done it on trolleys and checkouts.
Yeah.
And then they got me till trained.
Right.
And I got till trained, but I started doing
better money on the tills.
Yeah, a bit better. Yeah, a bit better. So
and you're sitting down.
It's like £2.58, please, whatever it is. Yeah. So I started doing overtime in other departments, and then one Friday, normally I finish at 9:30 on a Friday. Then my old manager, like Jerry Kelly, was there. Then the night shift manager was there, and the night shift manager said, "Oh, Jerry, like so and so's phoned up sick. You got any staff members that don't mind working?"
Yeah.
Then he looked at me.
Jason, what you saying?
Exactly, yeah. I'm thinking, I just finished my shift.
Yeah.
I'm a 9:30 shift. Oh, it's 10 a.m., 10 p.m. till 7.
Yeah.
Like, you can do it if you want. So I said, oh, I wasn't going to read or nothing. So I didn't. But I meant to be in at 6 in the morning anyway.
Yes.
Like, to do the bread. So I said, all right, I'll do it. So
it's like 3 shifts.
3 shifts.
Back to back.
Yeah. And then HR thought I was someone clocking in and clocking out for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had to get confirmation from my manager to say, that was me.
Yeah, that probably happened to us.
Exactly, yeah.
3 shifts back to back.
Exactly.
But I guess it just shows that, you know, it doesn't matter what situation you're in, as long as you have the mindset to think about how can I, you can find a way. And you've grafted and worked hard for a period of time in your life so that you don't have to spend the rest of your life grafting.
Exactly, yeah.
And then enjoy the things that, you know, people try to spend their money on when they haven't got the money.
That's it. Like Warren Buffett said, someone planted a seed a long time ago, and now they're sitting under the tree.
Yes.
So it's the same method.
Yes.
Do the work now, and then you can relax and enjoy yourself later on.
Sometimes people go for the more attractive property strategies, the ones that look really appealing. Whereas what we're talking about here is a little bit more technical. It's slow and steady, but you can build quite a substantial business doing this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's why I like it, because before, if it's 30 flats, like I said, £600 each, that's 18 grand a month. I was getting that per year, like back then, and now it's like per month.
Yes.
So and it's nice and easy, it's steady. A lot of mine are on the guarantee rent contracts. So even
you haven't got the tenant management headache.
Exactly, yeah. So during COVID, when they gave them some of the tenants like a 3-month holiday and don't pay, some of them were like, oh, what's happening with your tenants? I'm fine, like no issue.
The council's paying.
Yeah, exactly. Standard.
Didn't ask you for a payment holiday.
Yeah, no, just straight. The only thing I was missing was going to the gym. Like it was easy, just relaxed. During COVID, it was alright. 2007 to 2010. Everything was cushy, just steady payments coming in. Brexit, everyone thought during Brexit or even at the start of COVID, prices want to drop or crash. Opposite happened, prices got going up. So all during that time, different prime ministers.
Yes.
Because back then, we had that Tony Blair, started off Labour government, and it moved over to David Cameron, Conservatives. And then Theresa May come in afterwards, I think. Or was it Gordon Brown? Theresa May, something like that before that. And then
after Tony, yeah.
Yeah. Gordon Brown. Then Conservatives came in. With Cameron, and after that May.
All doing all these changes, you're just kind of plodding away, you're just getting on with it.
Yeah, still work
your thing.
Yeah, any government, any party, any market conditions. Yeah.
What we're talking about is an area of law, but they don't just come in and kind of change it overnight. Although they're trying to make some changes now.
Yeah.
So the model essentially works all the time.
Yeah.
Leases are depreciating all the time, everywhere around us. Yeah. and it's looking at, okay, how can I turn these into an opportunity?
That's it.
So if you had a time again and you were starting again now, you're looking young 21, and I know you don't look much older than 21 right now. 21, just starting out.
Yeah.
And this is a strategy you were interested in. What would your approach be?
All right. Now, I didn't know about
the first deal you'd go looking for.
You know, I'll probably, depending on the funding, how much funds have I got initially?
You're 21, so not that much.
Not much. All right. So if I was starting out, I didn't have much money. The long way would be to do what I did before.
Yeah.
Get 2-3 jobs, start grafting, get my deposits together, and then buy. The short way is either to do rent-to-rents, get 3 or 4 rent-to-rents there. So if you can cream maybe £500 or £600 per rent-to-rent, get back. Let's say you got 4 rent-to-rents and £500 each, that's £2,000 a month coming in. Save that for like, I don't know, 10 months, 9 months, wherever it is. Get the deposits together to buy something maybe in Doncaster, 65 grand, 70 grand, or short lease strategy. It's up to you.
Yeah.
I'd also do some deal sourcing. So on average, you might make 3 grand per deal sourcing. It's not easy to start with, but if you can get into it, 3 grand per deal. So 4 rent-to-rents, 1 deal sourcing a month, that's 7 grand a month. Yeah. I'll also probably maybe even look at some JVs because I've never done any JVs, always self-financing. I haven't taken the money from anyone. So maybe even look for an investor, give them a return in their cash, maybe between 7 and 10%, just to boost it. Probably those are the 3 strategies that I'll probably use.
Yeah.
And then from my first one, once I purchase the first one, whether it be a house, like I said in Doncaster, 60, 70 grand, maybe even try and do SA, bit more work, but a bit more money just to boost the income coming in. And then obviously when you do SA, it's not under the Section 24 tax because it's classed as something else.
Holiday letting. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, holiday letting. So that will save me. And then push forward with that and then just go to portfolio bit by bit by bit.
Yes.
So that's the short way,
yeah.
Or I'll do it the long way, either way.
There's a lot of different strategies that people can follow. It's not that you have to do this, this and this to move forward. There are so many different ways to make money from property, even when you're starting out.
Yeah.
And I guess just the question I asked you, I'm thinking now, if short leases was the strategy that I was going to pursue, I would get the knowledge and understanding first and just immerse myself understanding how to do it first.
Yeah.
Then even if I had no money, I'd go out and find the deals where you've spotted the opportunity, you can increase the value on this property in this way. And then I would go looking for investors to fund it with me. Yeah. I'd say, look, I've got the deal, I've negotiated this, I've worked this out, I've got solicitors that can do the paperwork. Here's where we are. And here's what I need. I need the funds to come in to share it. And then let's say it's 30 grand in that deal, a small amount, for example. And even if you're making 15 grand on that one, you're building the experience and your track record with the investors as well.
And the cash put as well,
yeah. And so then if you want to go off and buy on your own after doing a few of those, it's so much easier.
Yeah, that's it. Because a lot of free information out there as well.
Yes.
That you can do and learn. Social media, individuals like myself and yourself and so many others. So you can always ask, tap it up.
There's no shortage of information. There's plenty of people to learn from.
And then do some paid courses if you want to as well. If you still need some mentorship or some courses, and just move forward from there. But yes, it's a way forward.
So Jason, what's the best way for people to connect with you and reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Jason Patterson. Just type in Jason Patterson, I should come up with 2 T's.
We'll link it in the description as well. Yeah.
Good. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook. And I've got a YouTube channel, but it's more for information purposes only. Yeah. Not like your one, 31k subs. Because people keep asking me the same thing. Oh, how do you do this short lease? Or what are the mortgage lenders available? Or how does Section 42 process work? So I've done some videos and I put them onto YouTube. Yeah. And then
people understand how it works. Okay,
yeah. Cool. So when they ask me, because I get the same questions asked all the time, I just say, look, here's my YouTube channel. Yeah, go and have a look. Look at this video, and it's right there. Yeah. So it's all documented, but it's more for information purposes rather than to grow organically in something massive like your one.
Jason, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hopefully do it again soon sometime.
And
thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.